Forget what you've heard. Muscle cars didn't start in the 60s. In the 1950s, Detroit was already unleashing monsters that could leave GTOs and Mustangs choking on their fumes. These chrome rockets rewrote the rules before the world even noticed. So, which forgotten legend would you trust in a head-to-head street race? Stick around, because the real pioneers of American speed didn't just look good. They could flat-out fly. Let's reveal the 50s machines that could smoke the future. 1957 Chevrolet Corvette Fury. By 1957, the Corvette wasn't just a pretty face. It was a full-blown American icon with a license to terrorize the tarmac. The Fury model introduced mechanical fuel injection, a cutting-edge technology borrowed from the racetrack and almost unheard of in street cars. Its 283 cubic inch V8 delivered a mind-bending 283 horsepower, one for every cubic inch, a feat that set Detroit on fire. But the numbers only tell half the story. Out on the open road, the 57 Fury could scream up to 132 miles per hour, leaving many muscle cars of the next decade eating dust. It wasn't just about straight-line speed either. The lightweight fiberglass body and near-perfect weight distribution gave it handling that left rival roadsters shaking. The Fury was also the first real shot across the bow of Europe's sports car elite. Corvette owners were suddenly outpacing Jaguars and even nipping at the heels of some Ferraris. And on weekends, it was just as likely to be found storming SCCA tracks as it was cruising Main Street. For every kid who heard its distinctive bark and saw those rocket-inspired tail fins, the message was clear. American speed had arrived, and the rules had changed forever. 1956, Chrysler 300B. Before muscle car was even a buzzword, the 1956 Chrysler 300B was already rewriting the performance playbook. Nicknamed the banker's hot rod, this stately two-door coupe concealed a monster beneath its dignified exterior, a 354 cubic inch Hemi V8, cranking out a staggering 355 horsepower. In an era where most cars barely broke 100 miles per hour, the 300B blasted past 140 miles per hour on the right stretch of highway. NASCAR drivers lined up to get behind the wheel, and for good reason. This Chrysler dominated the oval, setting records and earning back-to-back wins at Daytona. But the 300B wasn't just a drag strip star. Thanks to its massive torque, sophisticated suspension, and surprisingly refined handling, it became the darling of high-speed touring and road rallies. Chrysler's Letter Series cars would go on to define an era of American luxury performance. But the 300B is where it all began. It was understated, with a clean, almost unadorned design, until you hit the throttle. Then it roared to life, reminding every wide-eyed kid and startled competitor that luxury could also mean lightning. The 300B proved you didn't need wild graphics or flashy badges to be king of the road. All you needed was the right V8 and a heavy right foot. 1955 Chevrolet Corvette 5.8. If you ever wondered when the Corvette became more than just a pretty face, look no further than 1955. Up until then, the Corvette was mostly style over substance, packing a straight-six engine that sounded more like a sewing machine than a sports car. But in '55, Chevrolet engineers unleashed the 265 cubic inch small block V8, and the Corvette was reborn. That new heart pumped out up to 195 horsepower. But it was the weight, just 2,500 pounds, that made all the difference. Suddenly, the Corvette wasn't just America's sweetheart, it was America's street fighter. With a top speed of 120 miles per hour, the 55 Vetta could hang with Europe's finest and leave plenty of big American sedans in its dust. The low, wide stance, lightweight fiberglass body, and simple but focused cockpit all signaled that the Corvette was done playing nice. It was a car for rebels, racers, and anyone who wanted to outrun their own era. Street racers started lining up at the drags, and the legend only grew. The 1955 Corvette didn't just hint at the muscle car future. It helped build it, one thunderous quarter mile at a time. 1957. Ford Thunderbird supercharged. You might think the Thunderbird was all about style. Those long tail fins, gleaming chrome, and signature porthole windows. But in 1957, Ford decided to give its personal luxury coupe some teeth. Enter the supercharged T-Bird, a rare option that bolted a McCulloch supercharger onto the 312 cubic inch V8, cranking power up to a wild 300 horsepower. On the street, this T-Bird could hit 135 miles per hour, putting it neck and neck with the hottest Corvettes of its time. But it wasn't just about speed. It was about attitude. The supercharged T-Bird delivered instant boost and a banshee wail, shocking unsuspecting rivals at every stoplight. Only a handful were built, making these cars prize trophies today. Still, the legend is bigger than the production numbers. Ford showed the world that even the most elegant coupe could go from boulevard cruiser to track terror with the right dose of forced induction. The supercharged T-Bird's legacy? Proving that luxury and raw performance could not only coexist, but make history together. 1957. Studebaker Golden Hawk Studebaker wasn't exactly known as a performance brand. But in 1957, it threw down a challenge the entire industry couldn't ignore. The Golden Hawk was a mid-sized coupe with the heart of a street brawler. Under its sculpted hood sat a supercharged 289 cubic inch V8, delivering 275 horsepower and a ferocious punch off the line. At a time when even most sports cars struggled to reach triple-digit speeds, the Golden Hawk hit 125 miles per hour with ease. But numbers only tell half the story. The Golden Hawk looked like an elegant, slightly conservative ride. A car for Sunday drives and polite conversation. That made it the ultimate sleeper. Hot rodders and racers in the know would buy them up and use them to humiliate everything from Chevys to imported Jaguars. Even on the NASCAR circuit, Studebaker's unlikely rocket left a mark. Today, the Golden Hawk is a cult classic, remembered for blending looks, luxury, and a supercharger shriek that still echoes in muscle car history. 1955 Chrysler C-300. It's not an overstatement to call the 1955 Chrysler C-300 the first true American muscle car. Chrysler engineers started with a sleek, understated two-door coupe and packed it with a fire-breathing 331 cubic inch Hemi V8, pushing 300 horsepower. A magic number in mid-50s Detroit. It wasn't just fast, it was dominant. On NASCAR tracks, the C-300 was nearly unbeatable, racking up 37 wins in its first season and shattering speed records left and right. But the C-300 was more than just a racing terror. On the street, it delivered the kind of performance that made other luxury cars feel like rolling obstacles. It could hit 127 miles per hour, cruise all day at high speeds, and do it all in smooth, almost unassuming style. Buyers loved the idea of owning a gentleman's express that could double as a race car with the right tires. The C-300 created a legacy, Chrysler's famous letter cars, that would stretch into the 1960s and inspire a generation of muscle machines. In a world of flashy chrome, the C-300's real shine was its raw, unfiltered power. 1957 DeSoto Adventurer. Don't let the polite name fool you. The 1957 DeSoto Adventurer was built for speed, and not just in a straight line. This limited production coupe packed a mighty 345 cubic inch Hemi V8 under its gold-trimmed hood, complete with dual 4-barrel carburetors and an advertised 345 horsepower. Numbers like that were fantasy in the mid-50s, but the Adventurer was the real deal, clocked at over 120 miles per hour and ready to embarrass European imports that cost twice as much. The Adventurer's blend of luxury and brute force made it one of the most sought-after performance cars of its day. It featured a Torque-A-Flight push-button automatic transmission, advanced suspension, and a look that blended jet-age style with muscle-bound aggression. Only about 300 were built in 1957, making the Adventurer a rare prize for collectors today. But for those who drove them new, the message was clear. DeSoto could do speed, style, and exclusivity. No compromises allowed. 1957. Pontiac Bonneville fuel injected. Pontiac's 1957 Bonneville is a case study in how to launch a legend. Only 630 were built, each one loaded with cutting-edge Rochester fuel injection and a 347 cubic inch V8, putting out a stout 310 horsepower. It was Pontiac's fastest and most expensive car that year, aimed squarely at buyers who wanted performance and luxury in equal measure. With a top speed nudging 120 miles per hour, the Bonneville was a genuine muscle machine wrapped in chrome and leather. But its real claim to fame was technology. The fuel injection setup was a first for Pontiac, and a sign of the future for Detroit. This wasn't just another big cruiser, it was a halo car, meant to prove Pontiac could compete with anyone, anywhere. The Bonneville became an instant icon, both for its rarity and its speed. On the street, nothing else in the GM stable could touch it. Today, surviving Fuely Bonnevilles are ultra-collectible, but their greatest legacy is the spark they lit for Pontiac's performance revolution. 1954. Oldsmobile 88. Few cars changed American culture quite like the Oldsmobile Rocket 88, and by 1954, it was a bona fide street legend. Packing a 324 cubic inch Rocket V8, the 5488 pushed past 110 miles per hour, impressive for the Eisenhower era, when most cars struggled to crack 90. But what set the Rocket 88 apart wasn't just speed. It was accessibility. Anyone could buy one, tweak it, and hit the highway with power to spare. On the streets and at the track, the 88 was the people's hot rod. Its success in NASCAR and on drag strips made it the weapon of choice for racers, outlaws, and ambitious teenagers with a wrench and a dream. The 88's combination of lightweight, big V8, and simple rugged construction set the template for muscle cars yet to come. In jukeboxes and pop songs, the Rocket 88 was immortalized as the car that made America fall in love with speed. Even today, it's hard not to grin when you see one in action. There's real history under that hood. 1958, Chevrolet Impala, 348 Tri-Power. By 1958, Chevrolet was ready to unleash something big. The Impala, with its available 348 cubic inch big block V8. Opt for the Tri-Power setup, 3 2-barrel carburetors, and you got 315 horsepower. Enough to push this stylish hardtop to a verified 120 miles per hour. This was no sleepy family sedan. The first Impala had lines that hinted at power, but under the hood, it was all business. The 58 Impala could handle the straight line, but it was also designed for the boulevard, with a ride as smooth as its styling was sharp. Street racers loved the torque and the sound of those triple carbs opening up. Meanwhile, the Impala's interior was a study in late 50s luxury. Two-tone vinyl, chrome trim, and an airy cabin made every drive an event. The 348 Tri-Power set the stage for the big block muscle Chevys to come, but in 58, it already had what it took to run with, or past, the best of them. 1957. Mercury Turnpike Cruiser. The 1957 Mercury Turnpike Cruiser was a rolling showcase for everything futuristic. Radical tail fins, breezeway rear window, and enough chrome to light up the night. But its performance was just as dramatic. The available Marauder V8, especially when supercharged, put out up to 290 horsepower. That made the Turnpike Cruiser one of the fastest four-door sedans in America, with a top speed over 125 miles per hour. But the Cruiser wasn't just about raw numbers. It was built for comfort on America's new interstate highways. A true road trip king. Push-button controls, advanced suspension, and a rocket-inspired dash all made the cruiser feel like a spaceship. But put your foot down, and it transformed into a straight-line menace. The Turnpike cruiser is proof that the space age didn't just change how cars looked. It changed how fast they could go, too. 1957 Dodge D500. The 1957 Dodge D500 wore its speed right on its sleeve. Built for racing and the open road, the D500 featured a 325 cubic inch Hemi V8, tuned for 285 horsepower and a throaty growl that meant business. Capable of hitting 120 miles per hour, this Mopar monster took full advantage of Dodge's racing experience. Heavy-duty suspension, dual exhausts, and a chassis built for serious abuse. The D500 quickly became a favorite among drag racers and moonshiners, who appreciated its ability to outrun the law and the competition. On NASCAR circuits, D500s racked up trophies, cementing their legacy as serious contenders. Yet for all its brute force, the D500 was still a stylish cruiser, with bold tail fins and dramatic colors. In a decade defined by excess, the D500 proved you didn't have to choose between flash and fury. You could have both in one unstoppable package. 1956 Lincoln Continental Mark II. For those who wanted Rolls-Royce luxury with American muscle, the 1956 Lincoln Continental Mark II was the only answer. This $10,000 coupe of fortune at the time was hand-built and exclusive, with a high-compression 368 cubic inch V8 under the hood. It wasn't just about style. This Lincoln was fast, capable of 118 miles per hour despite weighing over 2 tons. What set the Mark II apart was its blend of opulence and performance. Power steering, a smooth automatic, and state-of-the-art suspension gave it a magic carpet ride. But nail the throttle, and it surged forward with authority. Celebrities and titans of industry snapped them up, eager to show off the only American car that could rival Europe's finest. The Mark II was the dream car of the 50s, equal parts status symbol and secret street terror. 1953. Cadillac Series 62 Coupe de Ville. Cadillac was the gold standard for luxury, but in 1953, the Series 62 Coupe de Ville proved it could move too. With a robust 331 cubic inch V8 under the hood, the Coupe de Ville cruised easily at over 110 miles per hour. Unthinkable for a car this plush. Cadillac engineers focused on delivering both velvet-smooth acceleration and serious top-end punch. Every detail, from the power windows to the wraparound windshield, spoke of a new era in American luxury. But the real magic was under the hood. The V8 was both refined and relentless, making the DeVille a favorite among well-heeled speed demons and the boulevard set alike. The 1953 DeVille didn't just get you there in style. It got you there first, with authority and elegance to spare. 1959 Plymouth Fury Golden Commando. The 1959 Plymouth Fury looked like a spaceship, long, low, and dripping in chrome. But it was the Golden Commando V8 under the hood that really sent it into orbit. This 361 cubic inch engine churned out 305 horsepower, launching the Fury down the quarter mile and pushing it beyond 120 miles per hour. Numbers that would make many later muscle cars sweat. What made the Fury truly fearsome was its versatility. You could get it with a 4-speed manual and heavy-duty rear end, making it a terror at the drags. The jet-age styling turned heads at every stoplight, but real enthusiasts knew the Fury's true strength was at full throttle. The 59 Fury signaled the end of the 50s and the dawn of the true muscle car era, a bridge between wild style and raw, undeniable speed. So next time someone claims muscle cars began in the 60s, drop this list and watch the jaws drop. The 1950s had legends hiding under chrome and fins, setting the pace for generations. Which one would you risk it all to drive? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold tales of American horsepower. Because the real revolution started sooner, and ran faster than anyone remembers.